want to start this episode by saying something that I know a lot of you are feeling, but you probably haven't said it out loud. And you can be paying attention, you can care deeply, you can even see what's happening, but you still feel off. Not confused or uninformed, just unsettled. Which, by the way, welcome to the lab. Welcome back to the lab. This is Bryce Prescott. I'm your host. I'm excited for today's episode. I had a different type of episode planned for today. It was about politics and how influence works and the chaos that's showing up everywhere right now. And I didn't record it. And it wasn't because it wasn't important. It was really important, actually. But it was because I realized something that matters, not just for me, but for you as well. And I couldn't deny it. See, there's a difference between having an opinion and having clarity. And if you speak from that first point of view of an opinion, while pretending that you have the second, which is the clarity, people will feel it. Especially you. Now, this episode is for anyone who feels like they're in the middle of the storm, but you're trying to act like you're not. It's for anyone who feels the pressure to have a take or a say or a stand while your nervous system is still processing everything that you're dealing with. This episode is for anybody that's starting to notice that when you stay too plugged in on social media, on culture, on the news, that it will definitely cost you more than you are receiving in return for it. And this isn't about disengaging. It's about learning how to stay true to yourself, to not lose yourself while you're still paying attention. So here's something that doesn't get said nearly enough. Knowing what you think is not the same as being ready to speak from it. Most people are very clear about their opinions right now. I mean, look around. Everybody has a tribe, and very few people are actually settled in to why they are in that tribe. And when you speak before you're settled, it doesn't matter how right you actually are or that you think that you are, something will leak. Your energy, your intent, your authority, your tone sharpens, your language compresses, nuance disappears. You start defending things instead of explaining why. If you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, well, that didn't land the way I meant it to, that's why. It's because your nervous system was involved. And the problem is the world right now, it rewards immediate gratification, hot takes, instant certainty, confidence on demand. But that's not how true leadership works. If you've ever felt like you've been forcing yourself to sound like you have resolution because you think you should by now, I want to give you permission right now to stop doing that. You don't have to do that. That pressure you feel, it's not truth. It's not responsibility. It's not a mantle. It's just your chosen pace sabotaging you. See, a lot of people hear the word discernment and they think that it means hesitation or fence sitting, but it doesn't. Discernment quite simply is the ability to tell the difference between clarity and adrenaline, between conviction and reactivity, between urgency and importance. And it's a skill. Discernment is a skill. And right now, that skill matters more than ever. Because when things are noisy, your nervous system wants relief. Let me repeat that. When things are noisy, your nervous system wants relief. And the fastest way to get that relief is to pick a side, is to lock in, is to stop questioning, That feels resolute. That feels like strength. But if you've ever noticed yourself becoming more irritable or more suspicious or more rigid, the more certain you feel, the more tribal you are, that's not coincidence. That's overload. That's the moment where there is a signal telling you the difference, where you get to honor that. Discernment is knowing when something is still processing inside of you, when you're still working through it. And again, it's not saying that you're wrong. It's just saying that you're not ready yet. You're not done. And I want to be clear about something. That is not weakness. That is one of the strongest things that you can do, is to have restraint. And restraint, that's how you protect your credibility. It's how you protect your trust, both for yourself and the way that others trust you. And it's how you protect your self-respect. So here's what I want you to really hear and understand. Most people don't get captured by bad ideas. They get captured by the need to feel settled. It's when trust collapses, when, like we're seeing nowadays, when our institutions are disappointing us on every level. We feel lied to by everybody that promised us something politically. It's when the narratives start to collapse and fracture. That's when uncertainty rushes in. And that's when uncertainty feels the most uncomfortable. And so what happens is that people grab the certain things that are there just so they can stabilize themselves emotionally. That's when you see conversations turn tribal real fast. When you start to take disagreement personally. And that's when you start to make up dumb rules like loyalty over the facts, over listening and hearing truth. Now, let me be clear. This isn't because people are stupid. They're not. It's because they're just dysregulated. And when someone is dysregulated, they don't discern. They defend. And if you felt yourself becoming that way, sharper, more combative, more closed off lately, that's not because you care too much. It's because your nervous system hasn't had the space to settle in. And staying informed should not cost you your ability to think independently. Because if it does, that means something's wrong. Here's where I want to be very, very clear with you. Stepping back, for example, getting off of social media, stepping back for a moment from the political discourse, stopping yourself from listening to books and podcasts where it's someone else's voice in your head, that is not disengagement. It's pausing is not surrender. Restraint, there's nothing cowardly or small about the idea of restraining yourself. It's about the timing of it and what it does back for you. Because restraint is knowing and saying something before it's clean. Restraint is knowing that saying something before you're certain about it, before it's clean for you, that doesn't make you brave. It makes you reactive. Speaking for the sake of speaking instead of speaking with something to actually say. See, most people don't lose trust because they're wrong. They lose trust because they speak from that place of tension. Now, I know you felt this in your leadership, politically, in churches, in relationships. You felt it in conversations. Hell, you felt it inside of you. And here's another reminder that the authority that we seek both to embody and to be a part of, it doesn't come from volume. It comes from connection and coherence. It comes from understanding. Authority comes from that place where, see, if what you're consuming is robbing you of peace and clarity and power, you're becoming easier to steer. You're becoming more easily manipulatable. Like I said, when you're dysregulated, you become ineffective and you become a pawn in a lot of ways. I noticed that for myself recently relative to the political discourse that exists. If you've noticed, at the time of recording this is in the middle of the AmFest Turning Point USA conference in Phoenix, Arizona. And boy, it's been a doozy, this one. There has been a lot of infighting, a lot of backbiting, a lot of accusations. It does not look like we have a unified group of people that are on the conservative side right now. And when you look at it with a critical eye and you listen with a critical ear, what you're seeing isn't right versus wrong or factual versus lie, even though those are there and they're prevalent in a lot of ways in these speeches and conversations that are happening, and even the discourse and commentary about it offline and online. What you're seeing is the collapsing of narrative and how people are reacting to it. As an example, and then I'm in no way taking sides. I'm sharing this information for the sake of sharing it. Ben Shapiro took the stage at AmFest and he gave a very heated conversation where he made some pretty bold assertions and some demands that if you feel a certain way, it requires you to act in a certain way. He took aim at some of the people to which he had considered friends. He drew a line in the sand that basically said, you're either on our side or you're the enemy. Now, the irony of all that is that where he's coming from isn't that he actually feels that these people are enemies to him. It's that they are full-heartedly disagreeing with his narrative and the larger narrative to which he has been a part of, let's just say it, as the pro-Israel advocate and CEO of the Daily Wire, which is a media news organization. People are no longer taking to their narrative with such ease, and there is pushback against it with very real concerns and challenges to why it is that we need to continue thinking and acting in the way to which has been encouraged thus far. And Ben Shapiro was not reacting very kindly to this pushback in narrative, and he's decided to make it extremely tribal. And he did the worst mistake ever, which is a tactic a lot of people do, is that he made it moral. That he is on the right side. He stood in a frame of moral authority. And what he missed is, if you go back and listen to my last episode about framing, is he realized that in that frame of moral authority, he does not get to claim victimhood as well, which he was doing. Now, why do I bring this up politically? And why do I talk about this? Because you could be somebody that's on the left side of politics or on the right side of politics and still get something out of this. The purpose I bring this up is because these conversations, this commentary, this presentation on social media in this way, it's creating an opportunity for those of us that consume that and that care about the direction of our country and have certain sensibilities politically to have to decide how we feel about it, and then to take those feelings and compare them against factual truth. And if our feelings contradict factual truth, we are presented with an opportunity to either not care and to lean into the feeling side and to become somebody that is really out of alignment, incongruent, and full of shit, basically, or to, in a mature way, readjust your own perspective and to look at things critically and see what is it exactly that I find myself being drawn to. It's extremely important that we understand this as people. Because what this means for us in our own day-to-day lives is this happens all the time. We're just seeing it politically. We have been sold something by the election of Donald Trump that was supposed to come with certain results. We're not getting those results. Then Charlie Kirk gets assassinated publicly, and there's been even further doubt thrust upon the three-letter agencies responsible for finding and solving who it was that did that to him. And then you have all of these other perspectives coming up, and basically the infighting is reaching very, very loud perspectives. And in a beautiful demonstration of it, we are seeing exactly what I'm talking about with narrative control, frame control, the collapse of these things. And just because we're seeing it politically doesn't mean we don't do these things to ourselves in our own lives as well, where we lean on loudness as a way to prove ourselves and if we're right. We think that by turning up the volume of our arguments, it will make our arguments more correct, and it won't. We will lean into a different frame to try to get people to buy along with it. And even though that works, And we're even seeing it works. We're seeing these lines being drawn on the conservative side of things. Are you on Team Ben? Are you on Team Candace? Are you Team Tucker? Are you Team Pro-Israel? Are you America First, America Only? Regardless of where the actual facts lie, we have these same questions and decisions that are being presented upon us in our own day-to-day living that have nothing to do with politics, that have to do with how we show up for ourselves, our relationships, and our families. Most of the time when we take action in our lives and we do it in a way that doesn't serve us, we are living out an example personally of exactly what we're seeing politically. Meaning we know the truth is there, but we have emotions or addictions or commitments to a tribe or to an identity that makes the decision to do that okay, even though it's not in our best interest. I want you to consider how dangerous that is and what it does for you as a person and how it makes it so that you numb the sensibility inside you that knows how to discern right from wrong, that knows what's true and what's lie. And you become caught up in this sort of spell where you're not really present. You're hypnotized in a way towards this end game to which you didn't start, but yet now you are a part of. And it all comes from that place of just not acknowledging the signal and discerning what that signal is saying inside of you when you choose to speak. This whole episode was supposed to have looked very differently than it does. I had an entire outline written out, going through the ins and outs of this authority control, this appeal to specific messaging and how it's been done, breaking apart in a very non-biased way what's been happening on the political right in the side of punditry. But as I was speaking this and reading through it and recording even, it just didn't resonate with me. Because what I found myself doing is I found myself in the same experience to which I was trying to teach you how to avoid. I found myself in this place of feeling like I needed to say things to defend my perspective or my opinion, as opposed to being truthful and honest about it and taking a step back. I also knew that if I was to release that sure, it would sound articulate and good in your ears, but it wouldn't be as helpful as I wanted it to be because it wouldn't be a true representation of my own experience, making your reception of it compounded because of my authenticity and truthfulness about it. So I scrapped it. I did several run-throughs. They weren't working. And I gave myself some space, several hours, and I came back. And in my preparation for a new part, a new perspective, a new angle, I found out that this was the angle to which I needed to take. I needed to take the angle that you get to lean in to the signal inside of you and develop your skill of discerning how to take action, doing what's best for you, even when that means that the taking of action is that you do nothing. That you step back and you allow yourself space and silence. It's not detachment. It's healing. It's perspective. It's readjusting the frame so that you can see it for what it is instead of being a game or a piece of somebody else's game in their frame, which is what happens every day in the political sphere. So as I wrap this up and resolve this, here's a real question that I want to leave you with. Where are you speaking in your life in ways that you are acting as if you know what's up, you're clear, you're articulate, but you're still in the middle of it? You actually don't have a well-formed opinion. You are just projecting as if you do. What are you rushing to say? Because you want the result of being seen as impactful. You want the result of being seen as somebody that can discern truth from error while at the same time not being in a place of certainty, allowing you to actually discern truth from error? And as you answer that, I want you to consider what would change for you if you let yourself wait until in your body you felt more calm, and in your thoughts and thinking you felt more resolution, and the two of those things were combined in earnest. Discernment isn't about staying silent. Like I said, it's a skill. It's about accuracy. It's about combining the truth that's inside of you with the experience that you're living and saying and sharing it in a way that is unfettered from your own authenticity. You're not having to fake shit because you know exactly what you're saying and why you're saying it. People think that they can speak and act and do all this stuff and that they can blur these lines and that it won't have an effect on them, that they won't abandon themselves, that it'll figure itself out. And I can tell you from personal experience, that is nonsense. That is the worst way to find, share, and own your voice. It's the worst way to get people to follow you, to have influence. The most important person to whom you have to have influence over is yourself through self-mastery. And a part of this self-mastery is paying attention to the signal inside of you of what you think, what you feel, and what your actions are, and how you are sharing that specifically with the world, especially when it comes to your opinions. That's actually true leadership. That's actually the best way to do this. Now, going forward from this, I very well may share the specifics of what I was learning and finding out about the ins and outs of the political right and the world of social media, of mainstream media, of punditry. But I decided not to do it today because this is more important. This is more required for your next level. In order for you to achieve the next level of your life, it requires you to go from good to great. And that's the hardest step known because it requires you to really hone in on that signal. It requires you to get honest with yourself about who you are, about what you think, what you feel, what's important to you, where you are tolerating things in your life that you shouldn't be tolerating anymore. And instead of running from that, sedating out of it, distracting ourselves, we get to sit in it and look inward. That's discernment. That's the moment where we get to then make a choice. And just like with everything relative to this podcast, it's an experiment. Most likely what you're going to find, and I can say this from my own experience, is it's going to be way more involved than you thought it would. In order to have a truly impactful, incredible life where you have all the money in the world, all the health and fitness in the world, all the love and appreciation and validation and respect in the world, that everything in your life is exactly what you want it to be, or at least it's close in getting there, it takes a massive amount of rejection. It takes comfort in loneliness. You will be required to dig in and to realize I'm doing this because it's what's best for me, even though this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I didn't think I would ever have the courage to do this, but I have to do it. The biggest tests of your life are what precede the biggest rewards of your life. And even though these tests that we're considering and discussing here might not be complex, they might be very simple, they take a lot of bandwidth. Some people don't have it in them to acknowledge where in their life they're unsettled and they don't want to be. They will step into the victim frame instead of looking at what they've done to create that for themselves. But the doorway of overcoming that, of bringing the light back into your life, of increasing your skill sets and your ability to handle a bigger and better life, is through the door of accountability and honesty, not the door of victimhood. I want you to consider that for yourself. And lastly, these type of conversations, backed up with the behavioral science, the discussions, the certainty, are exactly what we do every Tuesday in my group coaching experience called The Lab. It's a beautiful community full of people that are supporting each other in the ways they know how, and as well creating their best lives. I lead these conversations and this training every week, and I am so grateful for the people that are in that group and for what we're building together. And the beautiful part about it is that I know that there are people that experience intense loneliness that would fit right in the lab. I know that there are people that are struggling in their businesses to make them better and to take that piece of genius inside of them and to make it something that could allow them to create so much more influence and wealth for themselves that would do well in my group, The Lab. I know there are people that are struggling in their personal relationships that need courage and that need perspective and camaraderie from others to have what they need to make better decisions. Those type of people do really well in The Lab. And we're building now. There's plenty of opportunity for us to really connect. And so I want to invite you that if you would like to be a part of that or to try it out, you can either DM me on Instagram, which is just at Bryce Prescott, or you can go to the website lab.bryceprescott.com and fill out the form there, and my team will reach out to you about getting you the link so you can try out a meeting with us for free. There is an investment, a monthly cost to be a part of the lab, but to make sure that it's a fit both for you and for us, I let people come in and try it for free for one visit. So you want to get better at discernment. You want to get better at understanding the power of your own signal and how to take action. You want to understand and be better about differentiating tribalism from truth. That's a good way to do it. So I invite you to check that out with us. Anyway, to wrap this up, pay attention to that signal inside of you and what it's saying, and be willing to slow down so you can fine-tune exactly what it's saying and make the best decision for yourself, even if that decision means step away. This is The Lab. I'm your host, Bryce Prescott. And like I always say, until next time, take it a day at a time.